NaCCED, in collaboration with the Israeli Reggae Movement and social linkages for youth development and child, to host a free reggae peace concert on Friday, today, 25th November 2022, at the Casablanca Plain Field, Aberdeen in Freeton. Joining me in the studio to discuss more on this, including the recently enacted act of the NaCCED in Parliament, I have Ibrahim Jabati and Sir Manye. They are here to talk to me generally, including the mandate of their institution. Great to have you in the studios.
Thank you for having us.
Jabati, it's been a while. I know you've taken a drive out of the media, but you're still within.
Of course.
You're still with us.
Once a soldier, always a soldier.
Always a soldier. You can be part of this program by sending us messages to the number 077-600-324 or commenting on our Facebook live page. The Star Good Morning Show is proudly sponsored by Rokel Commercial Bank. I shall introduce my two guests in the studio, Ibrahim Jabati and Sir Manye, both from NaCCED. They are here to talk much more on their activities, past and present, including their collaboration with Israeli Reggae Movement and social linkage for youth development and child, to host a free reggae peace concerts to the Friday 25th November 2022 at the Casablanca Plain Field, Aberdeen in Freeton. Great to have you.
Thanks for having us.
Ibrahim, let me start off with you. Before we come to look at this key activity you have tonight, which principally hinges on building the peace and cohesion, as well as entertaining young people. Let's talk generally about NaCCED. What is it?
NaCCED, first and foremost, came into being by the presidential proclamation 2018, when President Julius Maada Bio came to power. He saw the need that if we are to go ahead as a nation, people need to know their rights, responsibilities, and duty. So hence the establishment of National Council for Civic Education and Development, now democracy instead of development, because it has just been enacted in Parliament. And since that time, under the indefatigable leadership of our chairman, Mr. Khalilu Tutande, we have punched quite a little bit above our weight. You know, when you consider the achievement or the exploit that we have made within this short period of time. It is no gainsaying that we are gradually now becoming a household name, and we have been embarking on key activities, like for instance, through the sponsorship of UNDP, we have been engaging youths that we term youth at risk all over the country, north, east and south, engaging them, giving them civic education as not to involve in any violent activities. And quite apart from that, we have also produced civic textbooks, 7 core textbooks, through the help of our steering committee members, that includes seasoned academics like Joe Edi Ali, late Mabile Fai, and some others, like Dr. Dennis Bright. They contributed in putting the curriculum and the syllabus together. Now we have them, and interestingly, it has now been introduced in government and government assisted schools, and for each week, civic will be having 2 periods, so that our children that are now at that embryonic stage will be captured and groomed in terms of loving their country, patriotism, sense of duty, because you know, as they say, you have to catch them young. Like one Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, Chris Kusov, said this: a country cannot reach its potential when many of our citizens are not reaching theirs. So, civic is very pivotal in achieving that feat. That is bringing everybody on shape, on stage in terms of national development by informing, by educating them about their sense of responsibility, and telling them about government activities, so that when they are making decisions that will have to affect the country in future, it will have to be based on an informed decision, not a skewed one, you know, that has a tendency of derail whatever progress that will be made. And apart from that, when there was this tree planting, we collaborated with the Ministry of Environment when they saw that NaCCED is a civic outfit and has a wider outreach. And we took that on and ran away with it. We are all over the country educating the people about the essence of trees in our environment and the good things that it does to us. Apart from providing shade, it can also help to block the spill of wind when it is rainy season, and it will check a lot of damages that would have otherwise occurred. And that turned out to be a success. So, in short, that is some of our achievement that we have done so far.
Okay, let me bring Manyan in. Are you of this conviction that with the reintroduction of the civic cause in school could help to actually change the current narrative? We've seen where people are refusing to be loyal. We've seen where people don't understand why they need to be obedient. Not to talk of our own generation, for which we benefited quite a lot as a result of the introduction of this cause. But the current crop of young people seem to be a missing generation. Now the indication is there is a reintroduction of the cause with the help of NaCCED, for which many people are congratulating the institution. Do you see a change of the narrative?
Well, thank you very much. I quite agree with you, your points of view on all of this. In fact, your question itself has covered the context very properly for us. In fact, your question is pretty much our question as NaCCED, as to how we can bring civics back into our development process in the country. The question you asked is pretty much how the same question you asked. But to put it in perspective, we have a specific approach to that, which is to say, catch them young. The reason is this, that the older a person gets, and I want to make this very, real, in a real sense, right? The older a person gets, the more conservative he becomes, the less amendable we are to change. The younger you are, the more adaptable you are. So it makes sense to prioritize, not to say that they are the only target audience per se, or target beneficiaries of our programs or our education, but they are a priority because they are more adaptable to change. So if you, for example, start to introduce them to the reality of civics, as in your contribution as an individual to the whole of society, because that's what civics is. Everybody has a right to pursue dreams for themselves and their families, but that's not civics. Civics is your contribution to the whole, such as taxes, such as using government dustbins, such as elections, what you can do that can benefit everybody else, your contribution. That's basically civics. So we're saying if you make that a reality, in children the notion or the belief, the strong conviction is that as they grow older, they will then live it. Because civics is a conviction, just like religion. You understand? You have to believe. Not to dwell too much on this because I believe I've already explained, answered your question. I just want to draw out a context from another country. A few years ago, we had the female World Cup in France, right? And then you had the Japanese female team, right? The supporters were there. They lost that match. But do you know what they did before they left? Before they had lost, or before going, all of them just basically, that's the fans I'm talking about, they just basically went around taking trash, putting them in proper places, and they left. What that tells you is that these people have had this civic consciousness in them. It's a part of their DNA. So when you go to a country where the civics is a part of their culture, it's their way of life. Nobody tells them to pick trash from it. It's their responsibility. It's our role. This is our country. You understand? People don't, even if I'm not the person who put the trash on the ground, they will take it. That's just a deep example of what civics what civics is, how it can benefit all of us. So back to your question, this is the vision, this is what we foresee for our country. And if the children are the future of tomorrow, and they will take over the reins of our country, it makes sense to start working on that right now.
Okay. Jawati, quickly, NaCCED, have you facilitated the training of teachers to actually undertake this new course? I call it new because it has been a while since it lost within the academic syllabus.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it is currently ongoing.
The training?
Yeah, the training is currently ongoing, and it's over thousands of teachers that are going to be trained to teach civics in schools in the north, south, east, and west. As I'm speaking now, they are currently in the north teaching teachers how to teach civics. So yes, we are teaching teachers how to teach civics in school. But let me also expand a little bit about what my colleague was saying about capturing them when young. You know, in this country, lawlessness is a problem, a perennial problem in this country. People want to get all the goodies, but they don't want to obey rules and regulations that will create a kind of environment for these goodies to be available. Now, in some of the curriculum, you know, for children or pupils in primary one, it informed them about the essence to obey school authorities, rules and regulations, respect for their authority. So imagine if that is ingrained in them at that early stage, and they grow up to have respect for authority, and they see what that does for them. Like like my colleague was saying, that's Japan scenario. I mean, when their team lost, why do you think they did not explode in a kind of violent way? I mean, destroy seats, throw stones. It is because of that civic education they had in school. You know, they must have been taught that violence is not the way to solve your problem. There are other amicable ways to do that. Hence, they comported themselves. So what we are saying, or what civic is trying to achieve, is to have a kind of culture in the future in Sierra Leone wherein lawlessness will no longer have a place. You understand? I mean, you have a lot of other ways and means to address issues rather than resorting to violence. And apart from that, I almost forgot about this. We have even taken our activities further to engage clique groups. In the east, central of Freetown, and in the far west, we have engaged them several times to disassociate themselves from violence and try to engage themselves in meaningful activities.
Sound interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody might say, principally that should be the responsibility of the Ministry of Field Affairs to ensure how they can engage the youth effectively to disengage themselves in some aspect of violence and lawlessness. Do I hold this impression that you are collaborating your efforts in that regard with the Ministry of Youth?
Yes, yes, to some extent, especially when we are dealing with the cliques.
Okay.
You know, we collaborated with them, and they were part and parcel of that activity when we are moving about, addressing them. I mean, telling them point blank that that is not the way to go. The best way to go is to try to transform yourself, get some skills, you know, and then try to meaningfully get yourself attached.
So do they have the ready phases to actually incorporate when
they are very much, I mean, in tune with us, and but the questions they were asking is about the possibility of
reintegration.
Yeah, job, employment, this and that. But we told them, you get yourself a skill first and foremost. Opportunities will be coming later on, and when once they are bound, then you can get yourself engaged.
Okay, Manya, let me take you to a very interesting aspect for which I believe is part of the core mandate of NaCCED. Tonight you will be collaborating with the Israeli Reggae movement and social linkages for youth development and child to host a free reggae peace concerts at the Casablanca Field, Aberdeen in Freetown. This is an aspect of entertainment tonight, very greatly.
Correct.
Why did you choose this occasion?
So, edutainment is just one of our approaches to educating people about civics, all right? When it comes to it, I mean, you hear the word edutainment. It's a combination of education and entertainment, all right? It's just a natural thing that people tend to like entertainment. It's an emotional thing. So if you can infuse education into it, the likelihood is that you will get much more impact with what you're doing. So that's why NaCCED, as call us a multimedia outfit, edutainment is one of our most powerful tools. So the artists, that's the professional artists, that's we're talking about, those who were born with the talent now, right? And who have done things like that before. Alright, together we will collaborate with them, we will support them. They're going to be doing the concert, but then we're supporting them insofar as a lot of what they'll be singing will have civic messages.
Okay, I was just wondering as to the aspect of tailoring the messages that will buffet the minds of young people for a positive transformation. So you provided the wordings.
No, not entirely. Let's say we provided the guiding messages.
The guiding
so for example,
messages.
we wanted messages on peace.
Okay, and they put them in form of lyrics.
Yes, they would then create the lyrics, the necessary lyrics, the reading and everything. But I have to say it was very collaborative. When they would do it, they would bring it back to us and we go through and see that. So basically we were satisfied that the concept today,
You agree on the content of the message?
Yes.
Okay. The question is, what is the anticipated outcome of today's event?
So reggae is, even though it did not originate in Sierra Leone or Africa, it's widely embraced by Africans to the extent that you could actually say reggae has also become African. We have great reggae artists, we have great reggae fans, I'm one myself. I believe you are. So we'll have a ready-made audience. So that in itself of young people, let's emphasize that. We'll have a ready-made audience. There's a specific reason why we chose Abadi.
Yeah.
All right. There's lots of youth there. All right. In the category of what my colleague has just said. But these people, most of them, they are reggae fans. All right. So we're going to reach them with reggae songs, so they will be entertained. But in the entertainment, they will also be educated on peace, drug abuse, dangers of drug abuse, especially given the context that we're now in a political season, in the election season. They will need these messages. So that's what this concert is essentially about.
I see you want to make a contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that is the more reason why we are going to go out there with this edutainment, you know, try to kind of cajole our youths to come around and to listen to proper music of reggae. You know, reggae music is known for its sober message. You know, it encourages, it inspires, you know, and so we hope when they go there this night, they are going to be charged and they will be changed for good. Never again will they accept violence, and forever they will embrace peace and love their brother man. That's the way to go.
Okay, two things. Fundamentally though, we're looking at, correct me if I'm wrong, this might be a pilot phase of what your tonight's engagement will be like. I was just wondering, or perhaps what would be the relative question people may want to put to both my colleague here, Jabati, and Mani is, are you anticipating taking these on country? Or this is just an experimental occasion? If it succeeded, you'll have in mind to replicate it come 2023 in other areas. That is one. Secondly, as a state institution, the aspect of lawlessness is not only limited to young people. Even those that are financing the young people, giving them the things that require them to become intoxicated. Do you intend engaging political party leadership for them to actually see why there ought to be a kind of cessation in all of these things and educating their followership for the betterment in fostering our democracy, building the national cohesion?
Sure, I mean, engaging political parties is a must, because most of the time they are the drivers of these instigations for the youths to be violent by giving them all kind of concussions, you know. But you see, when you don't have someone that you can misuse to go out there and destroy his or her life for the moment, then you become somehow powerless. So what we are doing, what we are trying to do in essence, is to make them powerless. Because when you inform those who you would have used,
by disconnecting them,
that is the point. That is the point.
Yes, I see.
That is the point.
Yes.
So when you don't have someone that you can misuse to go out there and do your dirty job, then you think twice.
Then you have nothing to do.
You have nothing to do.
Yes.
You instead use your finances now in a proper way. You understand?
Instead of instigating.
Instead of instigating. So that is what we are trying to do. Because you see, sometimes it is very difficult to convince some of these political party members. You understand?
Or give them a try.
That is what I'm saying. We can try, but where we are going to emphasize, we want to take that power from them. You see, when you talk to the youth who are able and energetic, yeah,
the foot soldiers.
the foot soldiers, if you are able to capture them and cajole them not to get engaged in those kind of violent activities, then you are making the financier powerless, you know. So that is what we are trying to do, but that does not mean that we are not going to talk to them. We'll talk to them. You understand? Like they say, you can't give an old dog a new name. You'll be wasting your time. You understand? So what we do, we try to get the youth to cajole them, you know, to desist from those kind of activities.
Okay. Is the whole objective trying to build a very decent generation?
I mean, your questions pretty much provide the answers. That's the thing I like.
Yeah.
Your questions are pretty much the answers. That's it. Civics eventually leads to decency, a decent society. All right. We're talking about irrespective of economic differences and social statuses. There is civility. There is proper redress mechanisms. It's not to say that there won't be issues. My colleague was just saying, it's not that there won't be issues. Society will always have shares of issues everywhere you go. All right, but redressing them, a society, a country, a peaceful country you admire, it is because of their civic status. It is because of their level of awareness and practice of civics. And that civics in itself provides the redress mechanisms for how you handle society's issues. Right? Because society will always have issues. But back to the point we were talking about, the relationship between politicians and the youth. We all know it's perennial, it's all over the world, all right? But more so in Africa. And let's talk about our own context, because this is where we are.
Let's domesticate the conversation.
Let's domesticate the conversation, all right? We know there's issue. For us in the National Council, it's a national thing. Our engagement with politicians is there, and it is continuous. But first of all, we've established that our priorities, our target beneficiaries are the younger you are, the more important you are to us, simply because you are more amenable to change. Remember that the youth, they're not children, but they're not yet adults per se, or they may be young adults, all right? But they're starting out to become useful. They're starting out to become impactful because they are the muscles, they are the energy of these political movements we see and political excesses we see, but they're not the brains. That's why we're targeting them with this thing. So, like my colleague was saying, not to overburden his point because he's made it very clear, right? We're not saying we're distancing them from the politicians because they themselves need to be heard. They need to be involved in our development process. But they have to do it consciously, being nationalistic and being patriotic. Also having a strong internal mechanism to understand where the boundaries are. No, this is not right. And we have youths now. There's many youths. If you take your time around, you find that you have conscious youths. Right, so these are the things we are trying to.
So tonight, is it only about the question of placement on the reggae artist, just singing, giving out messages, or we expect some speeches to be delivered where you give out messages that has a propensity to actually change?
Well, that is why NaCCED staff are going to be there.
Okay.
So it's like the edutainment will be going on, you know, then somewhere, I mean, in the process.
Just to let you know, with all due respect, you have a chairman that is an embodiment of a very perfect communication skill.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely.
I know him.
So you have a chairman who is that kind of.
So you see success all the way.
Yes. That is why you see we are punching above our weight.
I know.
Because he's very meticulous, and he wants us to, be very, perfect in everything that we do.
So the staff will be there to actually give out specific messages.
Yes, we expect that as they go along, you will hear the songs themselves will be messages on their own, because like we cover
they're quite telling.
The content will. They actually what do you call it? They actually wrote some songs. They actually produced some songs specifically for this concert. That's one. And secondly, as you go along, you will hear messages. And we'll have comedians, all right? It's a typical concert. You will have comedians. They will come and make their jokes, but also within that context, give out civic messages. So we tailored it, like you said, our chair has a strong communications background, so it's easy for him to design programs like these. So I would just promise that
without seeking for any consultancy.
Yes. And interestingly, I mean, in as much as it is about peace, but we are also going to infuse it with talks of patriotism, nationalism, love for country, because Abdurrahman, you go, if you stand out there now, how many people want to go overseas, this and that? You will see the gamut of people out there who want to live. You understand? We have to ensure that
Talking now becoming the new destination.
I'm telling you. So, you see, it is sad. We are losing a lot of brains that would have otherwise stayed and helped in developing our country. So we need to impact this sense of nationalism and patriotism, at the same time good governance, so that the enabling environment will be there. As long as you are kind of well trained, you will be able to live a decent, better life in your country, rather than running away to go and develop another country, having gained the basic of your academia here. You know?
So it's a kind of a retention strategy.
precisely.
You can say that again, my brother.
In addition to what he said, when I just recollected, he mentioned the Youth at Risk program.
Yeah.
Right? That really a whole lot targets cliques. But remember, they are citizens themselves. They have their issues, but they are citizens. They are nationals. All right. So we have programs that we target them with. For example, in the context of COVID, we had them do constructive things because that's what a citizen does. Right? What did they do? They went around with COVID prevention messages.
Yes.
They shared COVID prevention facilities and things like that. But also, you know, these messages that we give them, it encourages they themselves to be a part of the political and development process.
Exactly.
We expect that in the coming elections, just by some of what we're doing, you will have a lot more youth representation, female and male, in the political spectrum. They themselves will now say, okay, nobody's going to be sending us to do anything. Let us be a part of the conversation and decision making in one leadership capacity or another. And the space is there. It's just that they don't know that the space is there because they've not been told that. What they are told is that una day, or you people be around, do this for us or do that for us. Right? So we expect an increase in, hopefully, let's see what happens. But
So tonight's event will be the beginning of an awareness raising event that will going to succeed and being replicated in all other areas.
Precisely so.
Okay, now let's take our time off to end this conversation looking at the newly enacted, is it a bill? Correct me if I'm wrong?
Yeah, a bill that was enacted.
Enacted.
Yes.
Yeah. How important is it and how the centrality about it moving forward? Because you have a rather broader mandate and your public engagement is pretty much huge, that with these, it will enable you guys to actually say how best you can speed up in terms of your deliverables. Tell us more about it.
It is so important and pivotal that this bill has been enacted, and it actually finalizes the dream and the hope of His Excellency.
Is written out for presidential accent?
Yeah, presidential accent. And it actualized the dreams and hope of President Julius Maada Bio to see a different Sierra Leone that is at peace with itself, irrespective of where you are coming from. You understand? So, I mean, this is a dream. You are not going to see it immediately, but by becoming an act now, it has guaranteed its legality of existence. You know, we are now in the league of the likes of NaCCED and others. It means somebody cannot just come overnight and wake up and say, no, this institution is not going to exist. That is the beauty about this act being passed. It is now legally, it makes National Council for Civic Education and Democracy now a legal entity or institution, you know. So that is the beauty about it. And now it is going to have, after it received the presidential assent, it is going to have a board, you know, and an executive director, you know, and so on and so forth. So we are happy that we have got to that stage and we are moving forward.
May I just bring out the whole process? One unique thing in the passing of this bill or the enactment of this bill is the fact that it was a bipartisan affair, right? Which indicates that Sierra Leoneans across the political spectrum realize that civics is a development need that is absent and that we need it. There's absolutely no question marks, but there was absolutely no sense of friction when it came to discussing this thing. I mean, the opposition and the ruling party.
Yeah, in fact,
they were
General
totally on point.
General Majuba
And Honorable Mara.
Yeah, General Majuba said it is a laudable bill. It has great potential for the country. So he gave his eye to it.
Yes.
Okay.
So we hope that's a sign of things to come.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'll start with you guys by way of giving very positive message, anticipating tonight's success of this particular program. Let me start off with you. What will be you assume now you're watching? So many people are watching at you. You are the Casablanca field. What will be your message? Let's rehearse. I'll start with Jabati.
Say no to violence. Love your brother. You are in the same country called Sierra Leone. Help to build it. Let's live together as one. That will be my message. We have no other home but Sierra Leone.
Mori Manye.
The same message he has said, the same I would say, only that to say no to drugs, because drugs basically messes up your mind and causes you to do things out of your control, for which you yourself will suffer and be blamed. So love your country, we are all one family, and say no to drugs.
And to the Aberdeen community tonight, that you guys will be there.
Well, we'll tell them thank you for hosting us, thank you for welcoming into your community. We share the same message. We hope that this message
and we love you guys.
It stays in the community.
You love them.
And we love you guys.
Okay. I want to thank you so very much, gentleman Ibrahim Jabati, a colleague of mine in the media profession, and sorry to say, Professor Sir Mori Manye, a replica of the old man. Thank you so very much for honoring the invitation, being part of this program today, here on the studio. Hope we anticipate you guys have a very wonderful program tonight. And count on us, Sholo will be there to do a coverage of this particular program.
Okay.
Thank you so very much. And this is how I bring the curtain into this edition of the program with my guest, Ibrahim Jabati and Sir Mori Manye from the Communication Unit of the National Council for Civic Education and Democracy. My name is Abdul Rahman Kamara. Have a very wonderful day.
Thank you.